And Goliath, Belfast twin shipbuilding gantry cranes. Brought to Belfast in 1969 and 1974, they span what was the largest construction dock in the world. It is here Harland Wolff built a ship nearly 4 times bigger than Titanic, and yet how many people remember that ship's name? Everyone knows the name Titanic now, but even that wasn't always the case. The interest in Titanic does seem to be directly linked to the films made about her, with the 1958 film A Night to Remember certainly attracting public interest again. Then movies like the James Cameron film Titanic, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, brought the Titanic story to a much younger audience. But no matter how the Titanic phenomena came about, it certainly played a big part in the rejuvenation of Belfast. It's another reason for people wanting to visit Belfast. Located down to the left is a latecomer to industrial Belfast, a company called Short Brothers. They arrived here in the mid-1930s, just in time to play a major part in the war effort. They built 12 million aircraft components for Allied aircraft during World War II, as well as 2 very important aircraft of their own. One was the Short Sunderland, a flying boat used extensively during World War II for search and rescue missions for downed aircrew, and it was very successful. The other plane was a bomber, the Short Stirling, a 4-engined heavy bomber, one of Britain's first. This was a plane that could reach and bomb Germany, and was one of the reasons that Belfast would find itself targeted in the Luftwaffe in 1941. Queen's Bridge, which was opened in 1849, the year that Queen Victoria chose to visit Belfast. It was hoped that she would grant Belfast the honour of city status, in recognition of Belfast's remarkable industrial development in the first half of the 19th century. But she only stayed in Belfast for 4.5 hours, and in her haste to leave, she forgot, or probably never intended, to grant Belfast the city status it so craved. Belfast would have to wait nearly 40 years before becoming a city in 1888. To the left of the bridge you will see the Waterfront Hall, one of Europe's leading auditoriums and conference centres. At the end of the bridge, the metal sculpture of a woman holding a large ring in the air is called the Beacon of Hope, symbolising the harmonisation of all the world's cultures. When it was brought to Belfast, it acquired a few nicknames, such as Nula with the hula, or the Thing with the Ring. On the right are the Lagonside courts, mostly built from glass, which is a relatively new concept in building here in Belfast. If you see a building built from glass here, you can be pretty sure it was built after 1998. Prior to that, we wouldn't dare. On the right are the Royal Courts of Justice. Because they contain the High Court, they were a major target during the Troubles. They are protected by a blast wall 10 foot thick in parts to protect the building from car bombs, the bomb of choice back then. now approaching our stop for St George's Market. This market was recently voted the best indoor market in the British Isles by the Indoor Markets Association of the British Isles. The market is open on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. If you are leaving us here, please remember to take your headphones and all of your belongings with you. First invented the pneumatic tyre, otherwise known as the inner tube, whilst living in Belfast. In 1888, his son was prescribed cycling as a cure for a heavy cold. Whilst watching his son ride his wooden wheel tricycle up and down the bumpy, cobbled Belfast streets, he came up with the idea of fitting it with inflated tubes made from canvas and liquid rubber. He patented his invention using the word pneumatic later the same year. This was the beginnings of the Dunlop brand, now familiar worldwide. Coming into what's become known as the Golden Mile. It is so named because this area offers the best selection of pubs, clubs and restaurants in Belfast. Some of the pubs have very strange names, but this is all part of the area's charm. There is also a wide selection of cultural cuisine: Indian, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Nepalese, French, Spanish, Turkish, and of course, Irish. Don't leave Belfast without having treated yourself to an Ulster fry-up, sometimes called a heart attack on a plate. Eating out in Belfast is particularly good value if you take advantage of the many early bird menus on offer. This part of Belfast has benefited greatly from the increase in tourism. We shall shortly be approaching our Shaftesbury Square stop, which is located outside Lavery's, Belfast's oldest family-owned bar. Established in 1854, Lavery's offers 4 different floors of entertainment for different music tastes and age groups. It's claimed they pour 1,000 pints of Guinness a day. They also give you the opportunity to pour your own pint and then reward you with a t-shirt that states that you did so. Entrance is also the entrance to Botanic Gardens, which is a beautiful part of Belfast. Looming above the entrance is the statue of Lord Kelvin, one of the greatest thinkers of all time. He was born in Belfast, educated in Glasgow, but is buried in Westminster Abbey. In the early 19th century, this was the outskirts of Belfast. But with the population growing so rapidly, houses were needed fast, and so too were churches. Hundreds of churches were built in the second half of the 19th century. But when the Troubles erupted in 1969, many of these churches were in areas where they would be vandalised or simply fall into disrepair. Since 1998, many churches have been deconsecrated and found other uses. Churches are used as restaurants, interior design studios, and even Belfast's top comedy club used to be a church. We are approaching our Eglantine Avenue stop for the Malone Lodge Hotel. If you're leaving us here, please remember to take your headphones and all of your belongings with you. Belfast has a temperate climate with often windy conditions and rainfall throughout the year. The city frequently does, however, benefit from milder temperatures than other parts of the world at similar latitudes due to the effect of the Gulf Stream. There is significant rainfall here. On average, it rains for 157 days of the year. Average temperatures range from 1 degree Celsius on a winter's night to 19 degrees Celsius on a summer's day. But began his professional career in England, playing for Manchester United at the age of 17. He quickly became a legendary player, scoring 179 goals in 470 games over 11 years. Best charisma on and off the pitch led to him becoming the first celebrity footballer. He lived a flamboyant and extravagant lifestyle, which led to troubles in his private life, including, most notably, alcoholism. He was involved in several other controversies throughout his adult life, including trouble with the law, when he was sentenced to 3 months imprisonment for drunk driving and assaulting a police officer. Owing to his alcoholism, Best struggled with health problems later in life, and in 2002 received a controversial liver transplant on the NHS. This was successful, but Best continued to drink. And on the 25th of November 2005, George Best sadly passed away from multiple organ failure. When speaking of his life, George once said, "I spent a lot of money on booze, girls and fast cars. The rest I just squandered." But despite his controversial lifestyle, he will be remembered as one of the greatest footballers in history and a son of Belfast. One of the biggest tragedies of his life is that despite playing for the Northern Irish national team on 37 occasions, Best never got to play for his country in the World Cup finals. heading towards West Belfast, which can be seen straight ahead. Anyone coming to Belfast in the 19th century hoping to find work who was Roman Catholic or a non. During World War II, it was obvious to everyone that Belfast would be a target for the Germans. Obvious to everyone, that is, except Northern Ireland's government. They left the industries in Belfast virtually defenceless. And when the Luftwaffe arrived over the skies of Belfast in April 1941, they came in virtually unopposed. They were targeting the shipbuilding and aircraft industries initially. But Belfast would end up suffering terribly, with more fatalities in one night of intense bombing than any other city in the British Isles except for London. The decline of Belfast's industrial sector continued after the war, and by 1969 it was but a shadow of its former self. To make matters worse, Belfast was about to enter a dark period of time that some referred to as the Troubles, the conflict, or the war. Entered the Falls area of Belfast, which is a predominantly Irish community. We will continue to see many wall murals and flags, but they will have very different content to what we'll soon see on the Shankill Road, because the people there see themselves as British. The murals will of course tell the sometimes tragic story of Belfast's past. To look at all the murals objectively, they must be viewed as historical, because they represent Belfast's recent history and not the present, where now both traditions have parity of esteem. Nowadays, if you are from Belfast, you can be either Irish or British, with no tradition being more dominant than the other. Entering another of the 7 quarters of Belfast, the Gaeltacht Quarter. It's here the Irish language is spoken as a first or second language. This area was named the Gaeltacht in 2002 and was the last of the Belfast quarters named. Right up until the 19th century, the Irish language was the most widely spoken language in Ireland. And it wasn't just spoken by one religion either. However, the Irish famine and its aftermath saw the population of Ireland plunged from just over 8 million down to just over 4 million in less than 60 years. And many of those leaving were Irish speakers. By the start of the 20th century, the use of the Irish language was in free fall decline. There's many striking murals which will give you a great insight into the community's identity. the Good Friday Agreement of 1998, a new form of government was introduced which will give equal representation to everyone in this part of Ireland. 108 members of the Legislative Assembly now govern this part of Ireland and are led by 2 First Ministers. Both have the same power, but one can't do anything without the say-so of the other. They now have to cooperate, even though they come from very opposite sides of the political divide, with one representing the Unionist point of view and the other representing the Nationalists. The Unionists want to remain inside the United Kingdom, while the Nationalists want the opposite. Now, with both traditions being given parity of esteem, things have changed here dramatically. The Nationalist, who feels his identity as Irish, has an Irish passport, while the Unionist, who feels his identity is British, has a British passport, where having both passports is also an option. This is our stop for the Spectrum Tourist Information Centre and the Shankill Road wall murals. If you're leaving us here, please remember to take your headphones and all of your belongings with you. July brings thousands of spectators to the Shankill Road to see the massive marches, parades, banners and bands, as these are the high point of the Unionist community's cultural calendar. The parades celebrate the victory at the Battle of the Boyne of King William of Orange over the Catholic King James II of England in 1690. The battle changed the British monarchy from a Catholic king to a Protestant king, and was very much an international battle. The British Constitution would also later be changed to exclude Catholics from the monarchy forever, which is something that divides the community to this day. On the left and to the right, there are many murals depicting the British royal family, which shows that this community has a great sense of British identity. Major incidents in history are recorded on the walls, such as the Battle of the Somme, the Home Rule issue, and the life of Edward Carson. The Battle of the Somme in particular had a devastating effect on the Shankill Road. 760 men from this area fought at the Somme, but only 70 would survive. Even for World War I, that was a very high mortality rate. The story of those who fought at the Battle of the Somme, known as the Shankill to the Somme, is recorded in a series of informative murals on the left-hand side. We are We're approaching our stop for the Schenkel Memorial Garden for the World War II and Queen Elizabeth II wall murals. Ahead on the right is a very graphic mural indeed. It's a photographic mural depicting the aftermath of some of the bomb attacks that happened in this area. There are some very disturbing images within this mural. 90% of all the bomb attacks that took place during the Troubles took place in Belfast. Because of this, a third... Terry Hooley is one of Belfast's more modern heroes. He opened a record shop called Good Vibrations in 1978 during the height of the Troubles, and the community was at the height of its sectarian conflict. He encouraged local music and the then growing punk rock movement. He started a record label also called Good Vibrations, and its fourth release was a record by the then little-known band, The Undertones. Their song, Teenage Kicks, became a classic hit of the time. Terry was at the centre of the scene, but used his influence to be a force for good in Northern Ireland's dark times. His generosity and spirit of defiance was finally celebrated in the acclaimed film Good Vibrations in 2012. He is thought of by many as the godfather of punk. We're approaching our stop for the Crumlin Road Jail visitor attraction and the old courthouse. If you're leaving us here, please remember to take your headphones and all of your belongings with you.